come in pretty early, usually about an hour before my job. After I determine how many guests I have, I'll go set up my boat, put down the engines, check the oil, empty out the rake or the fuel, water separator, and just some really kind of basic look over stuff for the engine. Once I have that in, I'll load up my gear, my rods and reels, put on the boat, check the drag, make sure my hooks are nice and sharp, kind of position everything the way I like it. For me, it's kind of like that routine is sort of helping me mentally prepare for the day, just kind of knowing I have everything right where I want it, so I don't have to scramble for anything. Because when you're fishing and you need that tool or you need that thing, you need to know exactly where to reach for. Once I have my boat set up, I'll look at the wind, the tide, the sea, and just determine where I might go for the day. And it's the kind of thing where I never really expect it to go a certain way. You kind of always have to have a plan B. So I'll get to a certain point where I look at the water and the wind and see if it's kind of following the predicted forecast, and determine whether or not I'm going to go there, what the risk versus reward is for that area. It also depends on my guests too. You know, if I have people that I think can handle, you know, maybe a little more wind, maybe a longer ride, maybe a cooler morning, then maybe I'll go a little further. So we'll be dropping these down and I'll tell you exactly how deep to go. And to do that, it's as simple as this. You just flip this down, almost like a light switch. Put your thumb on it first, flip it down, release your thumb, and you watch it go down. You can just let it free spool down. I'll tell you exactly how deep to go. When you're ready to stop, flip it back up, and you're ready to jig. Jigging is a style of fishing where we're going to be going on a spot. Sometimes we anchor, sometimes we just drift. We go on a spot and we drop lures down to where the fish are. I'm going to be using my sounder to find the fish, to find a good school, maybe the right structure that I like, and then we'll determine which depth they're at, and we'll just send the lure down there, and then we jig it up and down. It's kind of a quick pull up, nice easy fall like that. You want to pull up to about 11 o'clock and let it down kind of quick. You don't want to let it down too fast. If you let it down too fast, what will happen is you'll get tangled on the eyelets like this. So if this is happening to you, just let it down a little more slowly. Oh, we're getting bites here already. So typically we start towards the top of the school of the fish, and then we work our way down through the fish. And oftentimes the fish will bite as the lure is falling. So we're pulling up to make the lure flutter up, and we're allowing it to fall. And as it falls, it attracts them in. So we're not using bait. You can use bait sometimes if you need a little edge, but I find that our jigs are better designed for not having anything on the hook. They fall a little better, they fall a little more quickly. So yeah, we'll go sit on a spot and see what's down there. If you feel any kind of little vibration, any little tap, like something's nibbling at it, you've got to set the hook. So you have to give it a good stern pull like that to set the hook. It's not a very quick pull, it's not a flick or a pop, just a kind of nice stern pull up and reel up like that. Keep tension on the rod, nice and easy and consistent. And then once you get to the surface, I'll be there to net the fish. So I'll shout out a number for how deep to drop, and that number corresponds with how many times this slides across. So if I say drop it down 3, for example, you watch this slide across 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Each time it goes across is about 10 feet down. That's how we know how deep we're dropping. So once you're there, jig like this, little by little. If you're not feeling bites after just a moment, go down 1 deeper. And we just kind of keep working our way down. Okay.
Sounds great.
You guys ready to fish?
Let's do it.
All right. So trolling is when you're dragging lures behind you. There's a couple different ways to do it, but the way we do it is we have what are called downriggers, where we have a heavy lead ball, and off of that ball is a clip that holds the lure down there. So basically, we send down this lure at whichever depth we like. We can determine that variable, and then we drag it behind the boat at a determined speed. There's many, many different variables. It's very simplified, depending on the species that you're going for, depending on the tides, the currents, the day, where they're biting lately. But in general, the easiest way I can explain trolling is suspending lures from the boat and dragging them behind us. With Baranof Fishing Excursions, we offer a wilderness dining experience. where we're basically going out to find our fish to eat. We catch our fish. We do about 2 hours or so of fishing, depending on time and conditions. And then we come out to this wilderness camp where I fillet up all the fish for the guests and talk about it a little bit. It's a pretty cool experience because I get to show them filleting fish, like, and teach them a little bit about all that. And then we pass it off to our chef here who cooks up our meal, and then we serve it around the campfire. So they catch their fish, they watch it get cleaned, and they eat it right here. And sometimes they're eating their fish that's only 20 minutes old. So after we do that, we kind of enjoy ourselves for about an hour and then return to town. We also offer charters that are more specifically targeting halibut. Usually those hardtop vessels that we have are going out for halibut. They go out a little further, less protected water. They have that cabin to keep everybody a little more protected. And with halibut fishing, it's a little bit of a different game. Usually kind of going to certain halibut areas and sitting on a spot, anchoring, fishing with bait, and kind of, you know, waiting for the halibut to come in, waiting for the tide change. The halibut and salmon charters don't have the camp experience. With these trips, we're going out and we're targeting specific species of fish and staying out for that amount of time. And with salmon fishing, depending on where they're at, sometimes you don't have to go that far. Sometimes you can just go as close as Mountain Point when the run's really good there. Sometimes maybe a little earlier in the season, or depending on the species, you gotta go out a bit further where the fish are. You gotta go out to Twin Island or Doll Head, you know, something that requires a little more of a boat ride. And our clients on those trips are usually getting fish to send home. If a client wants to send fish home, we send it off to Cedar's Lodge. We have a long relationship with them. They do all the processing. They even have the ability to smoke salmon. Let's say you get into a bunch of pinks or chums and you want to have some nice smoked pink and chum back home. They'll do the smoking and they'll vacuum seal it and process it and ship it back to you. At the guest's discretion, it'll be overnighted back to them. So they get to choose which date they receive the fish. It's a really nice service that they offer. I came to Ketchikan because I was seeking adventure, and I met a lot of people that talked about working up in Alaska. And through talking to some people, it just sounded like it was a place that you could really go and make a good living, and if you were adventurous, it was the place to be. After my first seasonal job in Colorado, I applied for a bunch of jobs in Alaska. I knew I wanted to do something outdoors and adventurous. I didn't grow up doing that kind of thing, but I knew that if I had a job, it would force me to just learn all these skills. And sure enough, I came up here in 2015, worked as a canoe guide, didn't know anything about canoeing, I didn't know anything about Alaska, and I jumped right into it and learned it all. And right away, I knew that this was a place that was really special to me. You know, it was very easy to kind of just meet people, and people were just friendly. I learned so many new things that I just never thought I would even get into. Everything from learning how to sail to learning to be a captain, everything I learned about the forest and foraging, everything I've learned about like Alaska Native culture as well, and particular experiences. I don't know, there's just too many to count. You'd get the word in the middle of the day that somebody was doing something, and you got an invite to go along, and we went camping up on Dude Mountain. And on the way up, we heard wolves howling across the mountain. And I never thought I'd experience something like that. And it was scary, eerie, and beautiful at the same time. And then of course later that night, the Northern Lights came out unexpectedly. So, you know, there were just some magical moments like that. Even being here 9 years now, I'll go out in the water and I'll see something that I've never seen before. And not only that, other unusual conditions will come together. And for all those things to align in a single moment, I recognize how rare that is and how special that is. And it's one of the reasons I love being outdoors every day and working on the water. Showing people the kind of magic that I describe here, I really never try to lose sight of how special it is. Even if it's just an eagle really far away that somebody's very excited about, I'm passionate in seeing that eagle and making sure that people can see it a little better, a little closer. Because I recognize that people have been waiting their whole lives to come here. People have literally wanted to come here since they were kids, or have waited their entire career until they retired to come up here and see these things, or even to just catch a fish. I make a really big deal about it because they caught a king salmon in Alaska. And this is something that I know they've been thinking about their whole life. You know, I would say as a local experience, it's about as close as you can get, especially the camp trip, because this is something that I like to do with my friends when they're here. I mean, what's better than catching your own fish, bringing it to a camp, anchoring up your boat, filleting it there on the beach, and eating around a campfire. To me, that's what I like to do with my friends. This is a little more elevated than that because we actually have a chef out here, and we got our camp jacks that tend the boats and everything. But getting on a beach in Alaska, rain or shine, mind you, we're doing this in the rain and the wind, no matter what. So we're putting on the gear, we're going out there. That in itself is, you know, I think a very authentic experience. At the end of the day, we provide everything you need to have the perfect fishing experience here in Ketchikan. You can show up, we've got the gear, we can do your licensing on the dock, our captains have all the tackle and gear set up for you. We'll take you out fishing, and then we can ship your fish home. All you need to do is show up. It's as simple as that. We have the ability to get your fish back to anywhere you live in the US. So come out and we'll show you exactly how local goes fishing here.